Okay, here's the situation at the end of the fourth turn in this Baptism by Fire campaign playthrough. It's the end of the 17th of February 1943, and a lot more groups, formations activating. So let me run through. First of all, the first guards came in from the very north end of the map. They suffered a partial activation. I couldn't do a great deal, so they moved along the road, and then they didn't get a second activation, so they're done. Kampf group in the centre here. So their job was to push CCA back away from this main road. You can see they've, been driven back, and they even started to pull back as well to try to reform. Basically, they're in trouble. CCA in this area here, just west of Spatler, but not in any sort of strong position. Kampf group Lang, hanging around Spatler area. This was... they tried to push actually they were just defending the area. I think there was some combat around here with this Kampf group. I can't recall what it was. Maybe driving to the north. You can see them up there driving CCC back away from that main road. CCC then activated, and they were out in the east here, and they actually launched a series of good attacks on Spatler. So there's this continued pressure on this crossroads town here, and did pretty well to threaten the German positions, and this really spooked the Germans. They then activated Kampf Group Rhein, and unfortunately they lost their Tigers. It's a one-step unit. It punches very heavily, 5 AV value, 5 AR, but they rolled Snake Eyes in their attack and gave them a step loss. So they're eliminated, which is really frustrating because they're such a powerful unit. So they were pretty successful in pushing CCC away. 34th Infantry Division came on from the north as well. They also suffered, I think, they may be under a partial activation. No, sorry, they got a full activation, but not a secondary, and they can't move very far. This then brought attention out to the west, and interesting developments out here. This Kampf group decided to shift to the north and drive on Kasserine first, but they were held up in this hex here, launching a series of attacks and shock attacks, causing some damage, but not being able to drive through that hex. I'm learning the value of prepared defense. If you are defending, if you're just holding this position and not going on the offensive, keep in mind that they only get a partial activation because of that prepared defense. But those little modifiers and the impact of not retreating, taking the extra step loss, I think it happened twice. So that's how they got 2 of their losses, maybe even 3. So we're doing pretty well out here. This is Task Force Stark holding off this German Kampf group as they try to drive to the north, holding them off very well. From there, we activated Kampf group Welvet, and they again out in the west, and they figured that if this German Kampf group is going to drive to the northeast, they'll try to move towards the south and threaten Thalepte. And indeed, they are threatening. Unfortunately, they've got a partial activation. They're under prepared defense, so they can't move very far, but it's threatening. It's threatening the area. And what this means is it's going to slow down this Kampf group as they try to drive to the northeast, because they'll have to hold this as well. This is their supply route. And they need to hold that. They've only got sort of 1 infantry battalion on their mounted side in that area. At this point, we brought on the Desert Africa Corps Kampf group, and they blew straight through Combat Command C, wiped them out. You can see in this area, we only have the headquarters there. This is after their attack. They got 2 activations. They drove up really quickly, got pretty close, and then second activation not just punched through, but obliterated all of those CCC units, wiped them all out. So it's just the headquarters left, and we'll have to pull them back. But this opens this road now. Once they clear off that headquarters, it opens this road for their supplies. But they won't head this way. They'll probably turn back to the west and drive towards Kasserine. They want to remove that Combat Command C threat, because they had been threatening here for 4 days now. Not anymore. After that happened, well, Combat Command B is also basically eliminated. There are no units left as far as I'm aware of Combat Command B. And then Task Force Stark activated didn't do a great deal. I just sort of, given the value I've learned in this defense, they've sent sort of their engineers into this stack and engineers into this stack. It just kind of boosts those stacks, give them, I think, a +1 modifier from memory. In a combat, the defender with exactly 2 combat units, has a +1 modifier. So the defense is already pretty good. Those engineers will just boost it just that little bit more. You may notice the minefields here as well. So we've put these minefields within command range of this task force. I decided to put in this little choke point here through the pass. So looking over the situation, I'm a bit worried about the Germans. They are two things are happening. Yes, they are doing a lot of damage on the Americans, causing a lot of step losses, but they are not driving particularly hard. It's hard to get a sense of progress. It feels ahead of sort of historical schedule, but in game turns, I'm not sure. I feel like they could be further. They've only just sort of secured Spatler, like made it sort of safe from Allied counterattacks. So look, that's turn 4 out of turn 10 done. We're almost halfway. They've a long way to go. Keep in mind they need to exit off the map, so they really need to get things rolling. Look, I think now that Combat Command B is dead, Combat Command C is dead, Combat Command A is on the run, it'll free up a lot of these camp groups around Spatler who had been fighting back and forth around the town for 4 days, basically. The Germans will need to watch that northern drive around Sidi Abdallah, which is up in the north up here. There's a lot of Allied infantry coming down that road. It is mostly infantry, which will pose its own set of problems. Now I've lost the Tigers, so yeah. Look, the other thing that's happening is very few of the Germans are getting a secondary activation. They are struggling with their die rolls here. The DAK Kampfgruppe got a second activation. I think this Kampfgruppe out on the left here got a second activation, but no others from memory. And they're really struggling with it. I mean, these are decent odds. You're looking at sort of 4 or more, or sometimes 3 or more, and they're just failing. Whereas this turn at least, the Allies passed, I think, a couple of their second activation rolls, so doing pretty well. That's the end of the 17th of February, heading into the 18th. Some more American reinforcements arriving. We'll see how things go, and I'll report back soon.